Hey, 2 weeks down. How about that? We're back for our second week of the Guardians of the Future podcast. I'm Justin Lada and joined again by Willie Hood this week. Willie, thanks for taking a second week in a row to talk about the Guardians minor league system with me. We have a lot to talk about today. There's 2 weeks in. I feel like it's been a pretty eventful start to the season, a little more than I was expecting.
Yeah, I very pleased with the way the weekend went anyways, as far as some pitching performances. It made for an interesting weekend. Not quite as interesting as last weekend for you personally, but it was an interesting weekend nonetheless.
Yeah, it sure was. I mean, hey, the weather was good around Northeast Ohio, which, great for April 20th, the weekend of the last weekend of April, or second to last weekend. But of course, none of the teams in Cleveland were in town. I mean, Lynchburg is in Lynchburg, but Akron, Columbus, and Cleveland all out of town, so none of them could take advantage of the weather, but we sure did. But that didn't make a difference. Obviously, all the performances are good. I'm going to shoot this out on Twitter real quick. If you want to join us live for the live version, we record this usually every Monday around 5:30 to 6 o'clock. Me, Willie, and whoever else we get to join us this year, but usually we do this on Mondays, and we do it on StreamYard, so we can do a live version of this. So if you want to tune in and make some comments and ask some questions and just chime in as we're recording, that's good. If not, we have the future broadcast saved for the podcast version. So I'm just going to shoot that on Twitter real quick, and while you're at all that good stuff, be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, all that good stuff. I had a lot of nice people on Twitter today saying, what a great job we do at this, Willie. Not bad for a couple guys who do this part-time. This is not our full-time gig. So people seem to think we're not the worst in the world at this. So that was nice to hear.
Absolutely. Always feels good to hear that. But I'll just say I'm riding on your coattails, to be honest with you. So
I don't have a whole lot of coattails to ride on. I think you're making your own coattails, man. So no, it's good to do this with you. It's good to do this everybody at our site. I do appreciate everybody who enjoys following all of us, listening to this, following the website. If you're not a subscriber to GuardiansBaseballInsider.com, definitely want to do that. Like I said before, we've got game coverage from all the minor league systems this year. All the teams are back at home this week, so we'll have Hellcats coverage, we'll have Clippers coverage, Rubber Ducks coverage, Captains coverage this week. Willie's got some draft stuff coming out this week, and almost every week at this point, the way it seems to be going, Willie, with all your stuff. Follow me on Twitter, jail_baseball. Follow Willie at WILLHOO99. Official_CGBI on Twitter. You got notebooks from each level coming out this week, game coverage, and then Willie's got a ton of draft content teed up. We'll talk about that at the end. Real quick, I wanted to lead off, Willie, with the Daniel Espino start, because what else could you talk about? But real quick, Richie Palacios is going to make his debut tonight. Unfortunately, Stephen Kwan is dealing with a sore hamstring. That is an injury he had an issue with last year and also in college. Very unfortunate because how important he has been to the Guardians offense so far. But what do you expect from Richie Palacios and whatever small, hopefully, I mean, not that I don't want to see Richie Palacios play, but we hope Kwan is healthy. So what do you expect, at least in the debut for Richie Palacios?
So he's a guy with a lot of speed. We know that. A guy that isn't a big power bat, but he is somebody that's going to put up professional at-bats. So kind of a more of the same. I don't know how fast he really is, but I think he's going to be one of the faster guys on the team, not beating Ahmed Rosario or Andres Gimenez, but might be close because he's up there. But I think he's a better second baseman than he is a left fielder, and that's not taking a shot at Richie. I just think he would be better served to be at second base long term. But good to see him getting an opportunity. I hope that he forces the issue, and while Kwan is out, that he rakes, and it kind of makes them make a few moves while they're at it, So or it lines up for something in the future. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for him to make his debut. He is an interesting player. He makes a lot of contact, but doesn't quite make contact the way Kwan does. I don't know if anybody does besides Jose Ramirez and Michael Brantley and a few other select guys like David Fletcher and Nick Madrigal. But good eye at the plate, high baseball IQ, decent defender in left field, probably a better defender at second, but doesn't quite have the arm to play other places in the outfield. Can draw a walk, has some doubles power. I think we had him at a roll 45 in our rankings, Willie. I think he was 15 overall for us. A guy who I think has a lot of good skills. Not really a tools guy, right? I mean, he runs well, but doesn't have a ton of tools. More of a skill. Yeah, I think for sure. Speed's his best tool.
Somebody that's going to put up professional at bats and extend the at bats and extend the lineup by virtue of getting more looks and forcing a team to go to the bullpen faster too.
And that's really been probably the best thing about this lineup this year for the Guardians is they've worked the counts up in the top half of the lineup, and obviously Palacios is sitting ninth. They moved Rosario back to second, which I don't think we have enough time to talk about Ahmed Rosario today in this one.
Hey, we talked about that yesterday, didn't we? Ahmed going back to the 2-hole.
Yeah. I there's not enough time in this podcast to talk about Ahmed Rosario today. I just don't have it in me. I'm sorry. I don't have it in me.
I would have rather seen Palacios make his debut in the 2-hole or even put Ernie Clement in the 2-hole than put
just move Jose up one. Move Jose up, move everybody up one and put Palacios last. That's fine. I don't know. It's not my circus, so it's fine. What a mess. Anyway, good luck to Richie Palacios making his debut. He is a fun, exciting kid, and hey, good for him. I mean, look, like you said, he came from a small school. Towson's not a huge school. If I don't.
Townsend Tigers from Maryland.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge school. And look, he missed all of 2019 with a shoulder injury. Obviously didn't get to play in 2020. Had a great year last year, so great story nonetheless. That's good for him to get back and be on. So good luck to Richie. I know Caleb Phillips last year had a fun feature on him for our site. They were talking about a bunch of different stuff and talking about Richie Palacios' shoe collection. So if you haven't seen that, I know Caleb tweeted that out earlier. So take a look at that. He's an interesting personality. All right, let's talk about the real fun news of the week, Willie. Daniel Espino was named Eastern League Pitcher of the Week. Thank goodness it's no longer called the AA Northeast because I was going to not remember that.
They should just name that the Daniel Espino Award.
I think going forward, he's going to put his name on it for sure. I mean, I guess it depends on how many more starts he's going to get in the Eastern League, right? That's the only question.
Yeah, if he continues to pitch like that, he's not going to be down there very long.
I know. Wow, man. I mean, I know you love Daniel Espino as a pitcher, and obviously we're super impressed by him almost every time out. But 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 14 strikeouts, no walks. Struck out the first 9 batters he faced. Was hitting 97 to 100. So he retired 15 batters, 14 by the strikeout. 1 was a ground out back to him. So 3 balls left the infield. 66 pitches in 5 innings, 49 strikes. I can't believe they only let him out there for 66 pitches. I mean, the way he was going, that's the amazing thing is that he struck out 14 in 5 innings. He only needed 66 pitches. That's a lot of growth for him.
Yeah, that's amazing. To not see any walks for a power pitcher like he is too. Command and control have always kind of been a knock on him, so to speak. I know some have mentioned that there's a reliever profile or reliever risk there. But I think it's also telling that Fangraphs knocked him up to a 60 grade prospect too. So I think they were seeing something from him when they had those off-season views of him that maybe we weren't privy to, obviously. I've gone on and on about Daniel Espino, how much I like him, how I thought he was a top 15, maybe even top 10 prospect in his draft season. I think that was 2019. It all blurs together after a while. What I saw of him from the video of the game, 98 to 100. I know you said 97, so hey, whatever. Either way, he's knocking guys out. He was really effective. Not much to say other than I don't know. Just an impressive start for him. I don't see him lasting long in Double-A at this point if he just continues to bowl people over like that.
I know, it's really amazing. I mean, look, he doesn't have to be added to the 40-man roster until next year. So I know there are people saying, could he force the issue this year if the Guardians are good? Could be multi-inning relief piece, or just, force their hand getting him up to the majors this year. I don't know about that, but I do. Even AAA still has a lot of backlog. I mean, shoot, I think Eli Morgan's going to go down in May when the roster shrink at the major league level. Connor Pilkington just went back. Logan T. Allen should already be up there too. So there's two guys in Akron already that should be in Columbus to begin with, but there's such a log. And Adam Scott's pitching up and down. He's okay. You got Peyton Battenfield. I mean, there may just not be room for him right now. They have to have guys up there to serve as depth for the major league team. But it's definitely an embarrassment of riches right now, and not only like that from Spino. It's just it tells you what a good prospect he is and how far he's come. And the one home run he gave up was a curveball, was to Gunnar Henderson. He said he would throw it again. He thought it was the right pitch in that sequence. He just didn't have the best location on it, and that's a big step for him from a year ago, because I remember watching him a year ago, and he had some great starts last year, but fastball command was not always there for him. That's why he gave up some home runs last year. So fastball command was not anywhere near an issue for him this weekend. It was one hanging curveball, which again, that's amazing growth, because this is a guy a year ago that had some command issues.
And Gunnar Henderson is no slouch himself. I think he's a top 100 prospect too. A highly touted shortstop coming into the draft a few years back. Somebody I really liked and I felt was like a Cleveland type of player, because he was young for the draft class, and of course, center of the diamond, shortstop, quality player, a quality bat, I guess is what I'm really trying to say there. Somebody I think who has a very good major league ceiling in front of him, so giving up a curveball to him, and that's the lone shot he gave up. But I go back in my mind to the Erie start too, and the two hits that in that first start of the season for him were also solo home runs. He's going to give up damage. He's going to give up some home runs because he throws so hard. So, a guy that's coming in hitting 97 to 100 is going to give up home runs just off of his sheer velocity.
Yeah, that has been a bit of an issue for him, but obviously when you strike out 14 in 5 innings, you can overlook that, especially when it's one run. It's just amazing. I don't know. I mean, he might be the best pitching prospect I think I've seen on this team in my lifetime. Somebody asked me the other day about the best prospect since Bartolo Colon. I said, well, I think I was like 8 when Bartolo Colon, maybe 9 when he made his debut. So I don't have a lot of memory of Bartolo Colon, but I'd have to think. I mean, there was Adam Miller. There's a bunch of guys up there that were hyped, but Spino might be the best of all of them.
I mean, I have a 4 in front of my age, so
I'm not quite there yet. I've got a few years before I have to get there. I'm taking it one life milestone at a time.
I do remember Cologne a little bit, but not to that extent. I couldn't really speak to that, but I remember Cologne being a really highly touted prospect in Jarrett Wright, and for some reason Jarrett Wright was a favorite of mine at the time. But I think Daniel Espino may be the most talented arm in the system in, let's say, the last 20 years or so. I think we can safely say that. And I think Gavin Williams can push him, make him better, but also push him for that number 1 starting pitcher in the system, even that number 1 spot overall. And, hey, let's wait and see what they get in July in the draft, because there's another July draft coming up. And, a lot of talent. I know there's a lot of arms that are injured coming from the draft, but there's a great opportunity there for this team to add more to a already ridiculously rich position for this organization.
Yeah, we'll talk about Gavin Williams in a little bit too. I really like him, but college pitching can't stay healthy this year, so I don't know. Maybe Cleveland takes a shot on some non-healthy guys, and another Ryan Webb. Why not go for 2 of them this year, right?
Hey, they have a history of doing it. Raymond Burgos needed Tommy John when they drafted him. Zach Plesac too. There's been a few others throughout the years that they've grabbed that were injured. Jack DeGroat a few years ago. Kyle Marmon, just off of the top of my head. I clearly I don't remember all of them, but there's been several that were injured when they drafted him. I think up to 8 or 9 guys just since 2016 that I counted that had or were recovering from Tommy John or something of the like.
Did you say Plesac?
Yep, Zach Plesac needed Tommy John coming out of Ball State. That's why he dropped to, I think it was the 12th round. Don't remember if that was 2016 or when they picked him.
Yeah, it was 16. Yeah, so and Burgos was 16 too. So yeah, that was multiple in one class. You're right. So they could do it again this year. I guess we'll see. We'll get to a lot of draft content coming up. Another guy who had a big week was Joe Naranjo. We talked a little bit about him last week, but he continues to build on that. This week he goes 5 for 17 with a couple doubles, a grand slam home run, 6 ribbies, 6 walks, 6 strikeouts. He is up to 317, 491, 756 on the young season. He had 6 home runs all of last season and 446 plate appearances. He's got 4 in 55 this year. And the only thing I can point to early on, it's so small, so we have no idea how realistic this is, but 53% fly ball rate this year for Joe Naranjo, Willie. Last year, it was 33%. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Joe Naranjo all of a sudden is going to be a 25 home run first baseman because that's never been his profile, but have to think that there's a possibility that he made some significant changes and he's trying to get the ball in the air more and it's working.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that he bulked up in the offseason. I think that comes with natural maturation. I think also you have a young player who is still young for the level, by the way, even though he's repeating, a guy that's building on the foundation, so to speak, coming back a year of playing ball after not playing ball for an entire year. You know, like I said, last year, I think washed the season for a lot of guys. They come through it healthy. That's what we want to see. And then let's really kind of dig in on them this year and see who they are. He is answering the call, in my opinion. No, I don't think he's a 20, 25 homer guy, but what if he's an 18, 20 homer guy? And maybe that's more of what we're seeing with him. And maybe it all plays up with more doubles. You know, maybe he's a guy that hits, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 home runs and then 40 doubles or something like that at the major league level. Could play that way with him as well. But an exciting thing for him nonetheless. And, you know, he had, unfortunately, I think, he had that Jake Bauers comp, which is not good for a lot of Indians, Guardians fans, you know, to bring back Bauers memories. But the point is he was an advanced hitter when he was drafted, and that's why he was rushed to the majors. Hopefully Naranjo doesn't get rushed to the majors himself.
Yeah, I don't know about that. He'll be 21 in a couple of weeks here, so I think Jake Bauers is up at 22. I don't think Naranjo will be up that soon, but no. But you know, good for him to have a good start to the season after last year. He had a lot to learn, and that profile would be exciting anywhere else but first base. It's a little underwhelming at first, but who knows? You know, they trade Jake Bauers in the outfield too. Who knows if they'll do that with Naranjo? But I wonder how soon he'll be in Akron too. And Marcos Gonzalez is playing first base a lot up there, and so is Mike Capriz. So we'll see if they have space for him. How about Jose Fermin? Speaking of power kicks, he's got 4 home runs this year already. His career high is 7, which was last year. 268, 379, 536 so far. But not quite the same method to get there. He's still hitting the ball on the ground 57% of the time, 31% in the air, which is about around his career averages. So kind of hard to explain what Jose Fermin is doing power-wise, but the only thing he really needed to do was hit for some power, and he would be a more interesting prospect. I mean, we know he runs well, has a ton of defensive versatility, is a good defender, gets on base, knows how to draw a walk. I don't know what he's doing is sustainable, but I got to think I don't think his chance is going to come here. I think we've said this a lot of times, honestly, but I got to think coming next year, someone's going to take a chance on Jose Fermin finally, and
yeah, he's
he more than deserves it in my eyes.
Versatile player that could get a major league opportunity. Speed, defense, and now he's shown a little bit more power. You know, I have a couple of things pop in my head. First of all, is at Huntington Park there in Columbus, which I think is an offensive-oriented park, if I remember correctly. I don't watch Columbus. You and I talked about this last week. We don't watch Columbus a whole lot. With Fermin power showing up, it's something that he needed, and I think he's a future major league player. I'm wondering if, and I think somebody else alluded to this, if these are some of the balls from last year on the major league level that were bouncing a lot off of the bats. So I wonder if it's the juiced balls and that's benefiting Fermin, or maybe he's another guy that's gotten stronger as well. I'm trying to pay attention to the bee that's flying around in behind me right now. So
don't need that. Wow. Don't need to be
talk at the same time. I'm not one to kill
don't need
bees.
to get stung by.
They're kind of useful around here, so.
Yeah, we just don't need you getting stung while we're trying to do a podcast. It's not worth it. I think he'll get a shot next year for sure with somebody. I don't think it'll be here. There's so many infielders, but definitely someone we've liked for a while. And the ball, it's funny. Everyone keeps saying at the major league level, the ball's dead. It's not carrying as much this year. I don't know what it's doing in AAA. And like you said, Huntington Park is a bandbox, but I think he's performed pretty well on the road too. But we'll see if he keeps that up. One of my favorites, though, too. He was when he was in Lake County. I remember him translating a couple times for other players. Super nice kid. Don't forget about John Kenzie Noel. Interesting week for him. 4 hits and 20 at bats, but 3 have more homers. 2 came on Sunday. Not shout out to the Great Lakes camera crew. So one of the things I have a first world gripe about is the facilities or the teams in minor league baseball who do not have MILB TV. That's silly, number one. Number two, I think I've said this before. If you have MILB TV as a team and you're putting on the broadcast, I don't know what possesses you to kind of go at it halfway. I won't say the not suitable for work version of that, but if you're going to invest in that, I'm not sure why you would just not do it the best you could versus just putting on an inferior product. And we didn't really get a chance to see Noel's second home run on video yesterday in Great Lakes because the camera people there yesterday were having a rough day at work, it seems. So the first one we got a decent angle of, but the second one we got a terrible angle of. And I hope the camera crew in Great Lakes is learning. We don't have one of those in Lake County, but when the captains are on the road, we appreciate when we have a chance to see them on TV, on the internet. And when the camera crew is not doing a great job, it's very unfortunate for the rest of us, the subscribing audience. But 6 RBI, 3 home runs, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts. He's hitting 263, 383, 632 this year with 4 homers or 4 homers, 11 RBI. Walks are up a little bit, and strikeouts are down so far. So good start for Noel. Anything to add on Noel, Willie, before we kind of try to get to the meat of this, before we get to the questions?
As I tweeted yesterday, Noel doing Noel things. I think that's it. He's a big power hitter, a guy that makes surprising contact for being a power hitter too, I think. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't he have a couple of walks in one game this week too? It seems like there was a game where he had 3 walks and 2 hits. I could be mistaken about that, but
I think you're right. He had two walks in a game.
Okay. Surprising plate discipline. It's not what you expect for such a young hitter at that level, with that type of power too. Just an interesting combo. I think that's why he's on the roster, which should allow him to continue to move rather quickly still.
Yeah, no doubt. Lots of power and not as many strikeouts. I still have questions about the plate discipline, or pitch selection, I should say. I'm elite. The good thing is that the walk so far, he's been walking more this year. I was a little concerned about an Oscar Gonzalez approach for him, but so far he has been much better this year with that. Let's talk about a couple debuts real quick, and I want to get to one topic in particular with pitchers. We saw Tanner Tolley make his debut in New York because of the COVID IL issue for Cleveland right now. Kirk McCarty did as well. Tolley gave 2 good innings for them in a game they were down in. Kirk McCarty, they were already losing pretty badly, and he got kicked around when he came in, but nonetheless, he made his debut. Brian Lavastidis headed back to Columbus. Luke Maley is back on the Major League roster after his rehab. And we saw Gabriel Arias make his Major League debut last week as well. So, Willie, anything stand out to you? Tanner Tully, Kirk McCarty, Brian Lavastida, Gabriel Arias all made their Major League debuts in April for Cleveland. Anything stand out to you? Anything of note you want to talk about on those debuts?
No.
Okay, we'll move on. That's not what we do here. We don't talk about prospects here. So
next question.
Okay, we can talk about Ahmed Rosario if you like.
I'll pass. Okay, I'll answer the question.
Yes, if that's your choice, you're talking about them.
Yeah, I know there was a question related to, or a comment rather, that we're going to talk about Tully and McCarty a little bit. So I'll dig into that. Really, it was because of the COVID situation with the organization that brought them into the picture. I'm not surprised either of them got batted around in New York against a good team, even if their fans are trash. I don't know why anyone likes the Yankees, by the way. There's that. I didn't get to see a whole lot of Arias in his debut. Unfortunately, that 4-letter word called work kind of gets in the way of life sometimes. I do go back and watch a lot of the games because I record them all. So I did watch some of it. But he is what I think he's going to be and should be a excellent defender at shortstop. But I think he was playing second base the other day, and I don't get that. But hey, whatever. I think that was a cookie, so to speak, for him. Like, hey, we're going to put you in the lineup because he played over Jimenez, and Jimenez didn't play the day prior to, and Jimenez has been playing most of the time at second base. So I think Jimenez had 2 days off in a row, and giving Arias the cookie there, kind of hey, we want to give you an opportunity and see what you got, and we'll see you later at some point in time when they trade Ahmed Rosario because he's just an average player and too many fans are in love with him. Let's not hook our trailers to Ahmed Rosario because he's not the future. I know he's just 26 years old. I know he still has some upside, but this organization has far superior players in the minors that will show. And, we've been enticed with Arias. I think Jimenez is showing that he belongs at shortstop right now, my opinion. And I'm forgetting somebody. There was a fourth guy in there that I think I forgot.
Well, now that Lavastida is back in AAA, I was just going to say what you thought of. What did you think of him in his brief debut this year?
As far as approach goes at the plate, I wasn't surprised with that. I think he drew a walk or two in all of his games. I think he only played in 3, by the way, and did get a hit this last game. Defensively, he still looks raw. He looks like a guy that needs more time in AAA, probably another 6 months. Well, I say 6 months, I mean half of the season. I shouldn't say 6 months. I think he needs another half of the season in AAA to work on that. There's a lot of skills that he could learn from Austin Hedges. So one of them isn't hitting, so I'm not talking about hitting. But seriously, he could take some defensive pointers and working with the staff. Austin Hedges is still 28, so it's not like he's a grizzled old veteran. So just an excellent defender, and I think Lavastida, being a conversion guy himself, could pick up a lot of the little nuances. There was to me a clear difference watching him behind the plate and then watching Hedges work when he goes to try to get a strike on the edge. I saw Lavastida's hand kind of snap and move. You want to snap your hand or you want to snap the glove into place and kind of frame it, so to speak. Hold it in position. If your glove is moving when the umpire sees it, it looks like the ball is moving, and you're reaching out of the zone for it. So even if you catch it with the bottom of your glove, you catch it in your palm, wherever you catch it in your glove, you want your glove to still be kind of in the strike zone and steal that strike. There were times where it looked like his glove was still moving, and there were some balls that I think that could have been called strikes if it was Hedges back there. Little things, little nuance things like that. There were a few pass balls a pass ball that I felt like Hedges would have got. But Hedges, like I said, is a far superior defender. So one of the best in baseball. It's something that Lavastida is a work in progress.
Yeah, I think it was good. They gave him a shot over, putting Sandy Leon in the 40. I know they had 40-man issues, so it wasn't like they had a lot of ways to get somebody on the roster, but I'm glad they went with Lavastida versus any other guy they had in the minors or any retread veteran they could have signed. But yeah, I would say the framing issues weren't as noticeable to me. I think it was more the control in the run game. I think Hedges is 3 of 10 this year throwing out runners. I don't think Lavastida threw any runners out, and that was something he had to work on last year. He actually took a step forward framing wise. If you're looking at stats in the minors last year, his framing was better. Obviously, that he's not a finished product defensively. We know that. So, first time working with Shane Bieber, first time working with Cal Quantrill, all those guys. The shortened spring training, maybe all that plays into it. But yeah, he definitely needs more time in AAA defensively. But hey, he got a few weeks behind Hedges, like you said, and he also got to work with Sandy Alomar for a few weeks, so that's good for his development. The approach was okay. He drew some walks. I think he was a little overeager at times swinging the bat, but that's rookie nerves, all that kind of stuff is expected to be that way.
Yeah, only getting to play every few days too. I think that plays into it.
Right. And same with Ari. It's hard to make a jump decision on him too, as far as debut. He played 2 ends of a doubleheader, didn't get to play shortstop, which was the thing we were all hoping to see. He was a little jumpy swinging the bat, but it was 2 games, and he knew he was going back down. So not much to judge on there. I had some people asking. I think Jeff Ellis covered this in Locked On Guardians, which you should listen to every day because Jeff does a great job and has a lot of knowledge about the team and the system and the draft, all that good stuff. And I can't tell you how hard it is. Like we stuff a lot into this podcast once a week, and Jeff is out there creating content daily. It's hard. Creating a daily podcast is hard. Jeff does a great job. So if you're not listening to Locked On Guardians, you should. I know he gives us a lot of shout outs. So
I haven't told you this, Justin, but I came into my bedroom the other night and my wife was watching Jeff Ellis. You know how many of our podcasts my wife has ever watched or listened? None. She has never listened to none. I walk in the bedroom the other night and she's got Jeff Ellis on YouTube watching him. I'm like, what are you doing?
I have a podcast. It's very similar. I think you would enjoy.
She asked me, is that what you and Jared, or is it Justin or Jason?
Doesn't even know our names. Wow. Just a real slap in the face, man. That's good. It keeps us humble. That's okay. It keeps us humble. That's good. Well, good for her. Jeff Ellis is
especially after Chuck lavished us with praise earlier. Appreciate that, by the way, too, Chuck.
Yeah, whose burner account is that? Do we know? Is it yours? Is it Jared's? Is it?
It's not mine. I'm starting to think it's yours.
It's not me. I run 2 Twitter. I run 3 Twitter accounts. I don't have room for a burner, man. It's tough. So yeah, at least somebody out there listens to us. But yeah, Jeff covered this on his podcast. Why did Tanner Tully and Kirk McCarty come up instead of Tobias Myers, who's on the 40, or Nick Mikolajczyk or Peyton Battenfield, who are superior guys? And I think it was really, I agree with his reasoning. He said, mostly those guys, they don't have to make a 40-man move to add them, so it's not a big deal. And it gets them different benefits. Those players get different benefits now being part of the Major League union, or however that works. So that, those guys get different payouts now in the future because they made it. Insurance changes. They get their shot at Major League debut they otherwise wouldn't have.
It was a classy move by the org.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it because Cleveland has always tried to do little things like that, nods to the player, if you will, and take care of players. There was a international player that was injured in the motorcycle accident several years ago, and they kept him on insurance even though he was disabled after the motorcycle accident. They kept on paying his insurance and providing for him. I also kind of thought of it as it's kind of a view of how they are viewed by the organization too. So if you use them, so to speak, as organizational arms, you probably know what I mean by saying that, as org arms, or guys that are going to fill for a time, and they could be bounced back and forth as needed. When you want to make sure your other guys like Myers, guys that are before them, guys that are on the 40-man roster, you want to make sure that they're getting the proper amount of development time. Tully and McCarty, you're not so worried about burning them or not burning through them when they are up. But Myers and Pilkington, for example, who surprisingly has been with the team all the way through April pretty much, those guys, you want to give them that development time in the minor leagues. I think with McCarty and Tully, they knew they were going to use them at some point there, just out of sheer volume for innings and need. But I think it's also a nod for the players and controlling the development of the other guys that are already on the 40.
Yeah, you're not going to worry about it. I mean, you're not going to hinder Battenfield or Myers or Mikolajek's development by bringing them up too early. And at the same time, you need someone to fill those innings because of the COVID rules. And those guys get a little nod of recognition. Like you said, they're kind of good org soldiers. And, they're guys that could have, I think, more McCarty than Tully can fill a future role in a major league organization. It's not going to be Cleveland, but like I said, they get better benefits now because they made it. They get the chance to make their major league debuts. They both did at Yankee Stadium, which is, kind of cool, even though we saw what their fans did. That's still, a big stadium, big city, all that stuff. But just good for those players to get that benefit. But yeah, they didn't want to, at the same time, you're giving those guys a little nod, a little benefit, but you're also not burning the development of the other guys who you would want to add to the 40 and keep them there. So that's why those guys were called up initially, but they're both back down now. So we'll see. Hopefully nobody else gets COVID at this point. But let's move on to Akron. We'll run through these real quick because we got a ton of questions. But Bo Naylor, my observation so far, Willie, is that the strikeout rate's down, which is good. Mm-hmm. Walk rate's up. Hitting less fly balls, which was a problem for him last year. I think he was getting the ball in the air too much and was popping up a lot. So good to see he's not, trying so hard to lift the ball in the air. He had a decent week. He had a 4 for 19. He tripled, hit a homer. He stole 2 bases. So your catcher in the minors tripled and stole 2 bases, hit a homer, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. I don't know if we had a chance to talk about it the other week, but Bo Naylor was 28th on Fangraphs rankings. That really surprised me. I know he had a bad year last year, and there are some concerns about the swing and just the approach overall, but I'm really surprised he dropped all the way to 28th on their list. That's crazy.
Yeah, we hadn't had an opportunity to really talk to that list much. And I think they have Lavastida at 9, too, if I remember correctly. Interesting thing about Lavastida and Naylor is they both appear to have a little bit of speed on the bases, as you mentioned with Naylor. So getting at least average speed from a catcher and potentially getting a few stolen bases there. I talked to you, I think in the off season, some about Naylor. Really caught my eye watching him when I was watching Nick Enright video. And I thought he did a pretty good job handling Enright, and that curveball can be pretty nasty sometimes. But also just watching the whole game and seeing him come up to bat late in the season. And he was putting up what I would consider professional at-bats. He wasn't swinging at wild pitches. I remember one particular at-bat, I think it went like 9 pitches. You could tell that he had a plan in place, but when he was trying to hit the fastball, he was knocking it for a foul ball. He was behind or he was ahead. But at the end of the day, like I remember that particular at bat, he still made an out, but he put up 9 pitches against the pitcher and he battled. And it was pretty clear to me at that point in time, which was an August game. I think it was Akron versus Erie. And he just put up good at bats in that game. Not a successful game as far as getting hits, getting walks, but they were quality at bats. And that's something that I was looking for to see how, while I'm evaluating Enright and watching Naylor too, how Naylor was doing. So I'm encouraged to hear that he's made a transition, so to speak, or so it sounds like he has, not trying to lift that ball up in the air. Also less strikeouts, more walks. Tells me there's some a better approach this year than there was last year. But I think there was foundation to grow on, is what I was really trying to say with all of that about Naylor.
Yeah, and still he's 22 and he's catching in Double-A. Catchers develop slowly, and he's young. I know he's always played above his competition level. He's always, played in those circuits in high school in Canada, and he was aggressively assigned to Lake County at age 19 a couple of years ago. Last year in Akron was an aggressive assignment for him. So
I think he's 2.5 years younger than league average right now.
Right. He's still young for the level. He's repeating it, which is fine. So, and we know, I don't know how the bat would look if he was playing second or third, right? Because we know he can play the infield. He's got the athleticism. He was an infielder in high school. So who knows how the bat would look there, but we know catchers develop slowly. So I'm definitely not too concerned about him quite yet. And things are improving. So that's good to see. Two relievers I want to throw out to you, Willie, real quick. We're getting real deep cuts here. I can't pronounce this name. Andrew Misiazek. 10 strikeouts and a walk last week in 5 innings pitched over 2 games. For the year, 16 strikeouts and a walk in 9 2/3 innings. He made the special cut section for Fangraphs prospects. Lefty reliever with the funky arm angle, and looks like in the past he hasn't really thrown many strikes, but this year he's not walking a ton of guys, so that's good. Curious to see what things look like for him. And Kevin Kelly is a guy that's caught my eye since last year. He pitched in Lake County, and I thought, being older for the level and just how well he throws strikes, I thought maybe, well, this guy just pounds the zone and gets guys out, and he's a little old for the level. But this year in Double-A, 12 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 9 1/3. And he has that low arm angle that makes it hard for guys to pick up. His fastball runs arm side. Got a weird slider. I don't know if it's really anything more than average, but I don't know. 2 interesting relievers that are throwing a ton of strikes this year, missing bats to kind of, throw in the Nick Enright bucket where, these relievers aren't throwing super hard, but they're throwing a lot of strikes. They're striking guys out even without what you would call plus stuff.
Yeah, all of them coming out of that 2019 draft, which could be a really good draft for Cleveland, because you have Christian Cairo, at the top of it, and Yoris Feldes. Oh, and then that guy, Daniel Espino. He was in that draft class too. So Kevin Kelly out of James Madison, he's kind of that sidewinder that you were referring to. I think it's upper 80s, low 90s he creeps into with a fastball. Nothing is what we would scale average or better, except for his control. I think that's above average, and that's where it plays. He has that deception with that low arm angle. He is a little bit older guy, but I think you're going to see that from a college guy who was a late round pick. He's not going to be a priority type of guy, but he's also performed in college. He's performing now. He lost a year in 2020, so in a way, kind of subtract a year off of his development because of 2020. Really his second full season because of last year and then this year. So, I think he's 24 now and I don't remember. I'm just trying to go off of, my draft stuff whenever he came out. I'm thinking he's 24 now. So a guy who I think is, and I talked about him at some point last year, a guy that I like, but I think is an arm kind of like a Dakota Clemmer, who could be that go-to guy, maybe a middle relief type of arm. Some deception there, nothing great. I don't know a lot don't even know how to say his name. I'll say Misa. I do know he was a later round lefty from Northeastern, but when I saw him last year a couple of times, he was striking out guys then, and I just, thought the equivalent of, okay, yeah, this is a 23-year-old pitching against guys in Lynchburg, and he should be striking them out. So I didn't really take him too seriously at that point in time. I think there's a good slider there, if I remember, in a low 90s fastball. I think he was 90, 92. Can't say I really remember. But obviously he's doing something there and getting results. I threw his name out the other day in our DMs and saying, man, he's performing well or something to you, and that was the night I think he had 7 strikeouts or something out of the bullpen.
Yeah, in like 3 1/3 innings or something. You think he struck at every batter he faced. So more, I don't know, low end. I don't know, Justin Garza type relievers, maybe filling out the bullpen, but maybe something more. I don't know. The way these guys throw strikes, Cleveland loves to collect these arm angles. You know, you got the over the top guys, you've got these low release point guys, and then you've got these other guys like Misiasek and Kelly who have other strange releases. So they just like to find different looks for hitters to see. I guess maybe that's interesting to keep an eye on. That's all I got.
Unique.
What's that?
They like unique and efficient. Unique arm angles.
Okay, yeah. Arthur just DM'd me and said Arthur said it's Andrew Misiasek. So thanks to Arthur for getting us the pronunciation on that. Glad someone knows or someone could find it. That's all our updates out of Akron. Keep it simple because I maybe I won't remember either. I don't know. Let's run through Lake County real quick because we're getting on the 45-minute mark. Gabriel Rodriguez, you and I both picked one dud this week in our play of the week. We'll get to that in a little bit, but you picked Gabriel Rodriguez. He went 4 for 15 this week, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, nothing too special. Carrying a 500 batting average on. He does have a hitting streak. You're right, so he has that going for him. I think I said to you in the DM today. I don't know if Gabriel Rodriguez is going to hold a 500 batting average on balls in play all year. We'll see. That would be something special. Aaron Bracho, only 2 starts this week. We're going to talk about that in a question a little bit too. 2 for 6, a double, 2 RBI, not playing a ton. And then Gavin Williams, you picked him this week. 7 strikeouts and 5 innings, a walk, 2 hits, and earned run. Unfortunately, took the loss because the Captains didn't score a run. I went back and watched that start after the fact, Willie. I don't know if you did. 92, 96. Topped out at 97 on the Great Lakes broadcast. I was really not impressed with the fastball. I was more impressed with the curveball. He was throwing some darts with some BBs with the fastball, but man, he was dropping in that curve, that low to mid 70s curve on guys after the fastball. And that curveball just looked very unfair. It was so good.
Gavin Williams has curve appeal, man.
Curve appeal. I like it. Man, if it wasn't for how good Daniel Espino's week was, I don't know. I'd be talking about that start because that was I was super impressed. Not as impressive, unfortunately, Willie, was Doug Nikhazy. 3 innings, only a lot of hit, but he walked 6 and struck out 6. I don't know what's up with that. I did not get a chance to go back and watch that start yet, but I'm very surprised by his control issues.
He's a high energy guy, Justin. I mean, I think walks are always going to be an issue for him. I think there's still a chance he stays a starter. I know some people want to call him a left-handed reliever right away. Maybe he's not a guy that goes 7-8 innings a game because he gets in trouble, gets himself into trouble. He also strikes out guys, and he's going to get ground balls and stuff like that, the way his stuff works. He's a lefty that I think can get by with a higher walk rate because of his ability to strike guys out. His handedness as well. He's a competitor on the mound. I think you see that. I think he wants to strike out all of these guys. And, I didn't get to see that start, but I'm just going what I know of him. I think he likes to strike out a lot of guys. He wants to battle them, and he wants to strike them out. And, sometimes you fall behind hitters because of that. They get into good counts. Sometimes you're living on the edge, Like I said, I didn't see the start. It could have just been a pinching him too.
Yeah, same here. I didn't go back and look at it yet, but he was my favorite guy from the class last year, and I haven't yet to see him very much. So I'm excited to get a chance to see him. Hopefully this week. We'll see what the rotation looks like. We'll get to the players of the week voting at the end. Lynchburg, Jake Fox had a really good week. 6 for 18, 4 RBI, 8 walks, 4 strikeouts. I don't know if the box score is right on this. Maybe you can give me some opinion here, but I went back and tried to watch the video from yesterday, and I couldn't get a good. The broadcast in Carolina was not very good, so I couldn't tell if this was true. There's been some scoring issues this year, but the lineup had Jake Fox playing center field yesterday for Lynchburg. I don't know if that's 100% true, but
his dad was an outfielder, and he has the speed. He has the speed. I think he could probably handle it, but I didn't watch the game. Like I told you, you know how it is. You live in Ohio, you have nice weather on the weekend, and you work Monday through Friday.
Outside. Right.
Yeah. And there's a honey-do list to knock out too on the weekends. So.
Yeah, Jake Fox was on the grass and you were playing in the grass, so there you go.
That's absolutely accurate.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
I was trying to create some curb appeal for my house, unlike Gavin Williams' curve appeal.
Well, you just bought that place, so I don't think you got to worry about your appeal on that place just yet. I'll look to see if I can verify to see if you played the outfield. I don't know. Very strange, if that's true to me, at least early on. 4 perfect innings this week from Will Dion. 6 strikeouts. I heard he was about 92 to 95. We got that from Jason Prill in his last start, the Lynchburg broadcaster, who, by the way, is an Ohio native. Great guy. Been a joy to work with him so far. Good calls in the broadcast, too, for when Lynchburg's at home. I'm very intrigued by that. If he's in the mid-90s, we know he lost some velocity last year or in spring, but he was higher in college. Sounds like he's good. And then I saw you mentioned something about David Sharp in our DMs. Fangraphs threw him a little love, too. He's very interesting. So that is an interesting group of players at Lynchburg. But I'm very intrigued by Will Dion if he's pitching in the low to mid-90s again. And I just saw the one Davis Sharp outing so far, but he was really good. But Fangraphs seemed to be intrigued by him as well.
Yeah, good low 90s fastball, gets it up to 94, 95, and a nice slider. Guy that was third baseman and pitcher. I had in the 5 to 7 round range and then had a bad year. So he slipped out of that. He's one of those ones that to me could have developed into a 3rd round arm. He went the opposite direction. Cleveland seemed to go that way with a number of guys. That's a draft trend for Cleveland too, is they like to get guys off of a bad junior year. You know, I had those draft pieces out last week, and I don't mention every single trend I look at. Didn't mention all of them there just because it becomes exhaustive at some point. But that's something that they look for in guys. And Sharp is one of those guys that, hey, there's a lot more to, tip of the iceberg, I guess, is there's more than development can bring out with time, and he's in a good organization to do that.
Yeah, they clearly saw something. You ready to get some questions?
Let's hit them.
We got a lot. All right, let's see if we can make use of all these here. First one's from our buddy Nunzio Izzo. This is a 2-parter or a 3-parter. Finding interesting how playing time has been doled out. Prospects, we mentioned Aaron Bracho's not playing a lot. Alexi Planez, Carson Tucker, others not getting playing time. What are you guys not getting playing time than he expected? What are our thoughts on that? For me, Willie, I say Bracho, he's competing with, Giankenzie Noel's playing third because, and I know they want to exhaust him at third to see how that turns out. For my looks for Giankenzie Noel, this is off topic, but I'm not a big believer in his third base ability going forward. But Joe Naranjo's a great defensive first baseman. They're keeping him there because he has nowhere else to go. So Noel's at third and DHing. You've got Angel Martinez, who needs to play a lot. You got Gabriel Rodriguez, who needs to play. So Bracho's not getting playing time. He's played okay in his limited opportunities, but I don't know. It sounds like he's fallen out of priority. That's something I can think of for Bracho. I'm not sure about Carson Tucker. I put that in my notes that Carson Tucker only played 2 games this week. I don't know if he's got an injury. I know he had some injury issues last year, but for Bracho, it seems like he's fallen out of favor.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of times his work ethic has been questioned. He wasn't in great conditioning coming back into it last year. That was a knock on Gabe Rodriguez last year, that he wasn't in great shape when he came in. It's been a continual knock for Bracho. It's not been a thing with Rodriguez. He came back in better shape. Not that Rodriguez was in horrible shape last year, but he came back in better shape this year. I don't know about Tucker. I think Tucker had the hand injury. I wonder if that's a load management thing with him. You also have Milan Tolentino and Jake Fox in Lynchburg. You have a lot of middle infield talent that we've said this, ad nausea, that they have a ton of shortstops and middle infielders galore. Where are they going to put them all? Where are they going to play them all? Some of them aren't going to play. Some of them aren't going to play every day. One of these guys eventually is either going to end up being moved or promoted. Bracho will probably get more time when that comes. Maybe he's hoping for an injury. But I think right now is if you want more playing time, then prove it, earn it. No more handouts for you. So
I'm not sure about the outfield. And he mentioned Planez. I'm not sure about the outfield situation in Lake County. I mean, you got P.D. Halpin and Connor Cox and Jonathan Rodriguez. I think Planez should be getting more playing time there because he's not a guy who's had conditioning issues and a guy we know is tooled up. But the middle infield thing we know is a problem. And going back to Bracho, the issue there is, he's not a great defender. And they tried him at second last year. They tried him at first. They tried him at third. He can't play short. I know in the past there's been other evaluators who said his future home might be the outfield. They don't have room to do that. I don't know. But like I said, first base and third base are spoken for, and he's not a great defender at second. And he was a guy, I remember people saying that with shifting, he could be a decent defender at second base. But guess what? Shifting is gone. So, his opportunities are limited. I'm not sure. He's not on the 40 because he was Rule 5 eligible. So I think his time is his window to prove himself is closing. He's got to, like you said, earn the playing time. Nunzio has had another good question beyond this, but I'm going to save that for next week, Nunzio, because it's a question that requires a lot of time to get to. It was top 3 players most excited about each level in the org. I don't know if we have time to get to all that today because Willie would just have an hour on PD Halpin, so we can't do that today.
I can go a half an hour on Gavin Williams and Daniel Espino too. So
that's true. So that's a whole show right there. Literally, those 3 players. Let's get to Chuck.
Maybe a special edition for next week.
Yeah, that topic alone will have to be a special edition. You're right.
We can get a special guest. Bring in Jared. See what he thinks.
Yeah, we should get Jared on here one of these days. He's in our DMs.
He's not doing anything.
No, he's not busy at all. No. If Gabriel Rodriguez breakout is sustained all year, where does that put him in the organization outlook long term? Needs to be rostered in 2022 for the Rule 5. He had the largest signing bonus in franchise history last year at 2.5 million when he was signed. I don't know, Willie. Like I said, I don't think he's going to carry a 500 batting average on balls in play all year. But hey, if he's in better shape this year and like you said, building on that foundation, I don't know. Maybe he finds what they thought he could be all along. He's still a very young player.
Yeah, and hit tool was his thing. A lot of comments that he had the arm and he had the frame to move to third base eventually. I think that's going to be his home. That's not a question to me. I think it's potentially. Really, I go back and look at August of last year for him, and I kept on saying that. And I've said that numerous times. If you listen to the podcast, go back and look at August for Rodriguez, and he was a different player in August than he was the months before that. I think that's where you really picked up on him, possibly even too. I know that you've expressed, hey, I think he's going to be a guy that breaks out. Somebody that you drafted when we had that draft several weeks back now. A player that I've liked for a long time, a guy that I hyped like Bracho, a guy that I hyped thinking, hey, this is a really talented player. I backed off of the hype on Rodriguez because you got to prove it, but also saying, hey, that last month was very interesting. I think we're seeing the carryover right now. I can't remember where he was in our rankings. I think in the 30 area. I think he deserved to slide down because he didn't produce for a large number, but it's not only that. It's also the fact that the organization had a big jump in quality of talent coming into the organization too. So where does he fit in the future? Future third baseman, I don't know as far as ranking goes, way too early for all of that. But I do think we'll see him level off at some point, but you're going to see a better player than what we saw of last year. A guy that hits more for average, a guy that needs to add or needs to show more power to be a good everyday third baseman. I think he has the strength and the frame for it. but we'll see how all of that develops with him. The arm and the glove work, I think, is going to be there at third base long term.
Yeah, the arm for sure. I've seen the arm. The arm's good. I think the power is there. It's just a matter of making enough contact. And I know one of the things they pointed out was his swing decisions needed to get better, and they have been better this year. So just for him, it's picking up spin and making sure he's staying within the zone.
Yeah, he expanded the zone quite a bit last year and helped pitchers out. Even when the count was in his favor, he'd expand the zone.
Yeah, and he's a young player who missed all 2022. So Chuck also wanted to ask us if Richie Palacios gets a look against right-handed pitching in Cleveland. Well, he's playing tonight, so that answers that. This is another long one from David Osborne. Top three pleasant surprises and biggest disappointments through 3 weeks, and also wanted a way too early draft grade for the 2021 draft class. Top three pleasant surprises. Well, I gotta say Joe Naranjo, right? That's got to be one.
Willie Brennan, I think. Will Brennan.
Yeah, Will Brennan. I'm pleased with Bo Naylor so far. I will say that.
Yeah. Guys like Kevin Kelly and Misa.
Yeah, guys talk about that. Those guys are all pleasant surprises for sure. I don't know. It's hard to say disappointments so far. It's super early. I was hoping to see more out of Carson Tucker so far, but we haven't. It's hard to say. There's a lot of season left.
Dick Fox has been a pleasant surprise. Not to some, maybe not to me. I picked him as a guy that was going to break out. I think him and Dayon Frias were two guys that I mentioned. My breakout type of guys for this year. Fox hasn't.
I've been bummed out about,
but he's made a ton of contact.
I've been bummed out about Tobias Myers so far. He has not been as good.
I haven't been paying attention to Columbus very much.
Yeah, I'm just going off numbers there too. I was expecting a little more out of him early on. So that's the only guy I can think of. Trevor who? Oh, our buddy Trevor. All right. Well, first Trevor wanted to know is 4 hits in 3 games allowed. Is Daniel Espino a bust? We need to dedicate a lot of time to talking about cut him. Just DFA him right now. He's not even on the 40-man roster, but still DFA him.
Bring him up and cut him.
Yeah, just to get him up. Hey, look, you made your debut. Now you're gone. How would you rank the Akron arms? Espino number 1, obviously, even though he was asking if he was a bust. Curry, Cantillo, Burns, and Logan Allen. And he said maybe Hunter Gaddis. I'll say Espino, Allen, Curry, Cantillo, and Burns, and Gaddis. I like Cantillo, but right now, because of performance, I'm going to go Curry over Cantillo.
So I'll say Daniel Espino, Gavin Williams.
Well, he's just saying at Akron. He's just saying he should be at Akron.
Yeah, I know, but he'll be there in a few weeks. So
yeah, you're just preemptively making that.
Gavin Williams, Logan T. Allen, Tanner Burns. I'm going to say arguably Tanner Burns. I want to see more of Joey Cantillo before I make a commitment on him. I think the upside's there. I think Cantillo has to get some control. He walked several guys this last start, and he was inconsistent last year in his few starts. So I want to see what he does there, but there's a mid-rotation type of starter for him and Burns. And then I think Curry, Gaddis kind of fall into place after that. And it would be Burns, Cantillo, Curry, Gaddis to me. So Gaddis would be the last of the 6-7 guys I ranked there since I threw in a bonus guy.
But see, the hard part is if Gavin Williams is in Akron, that means Logan T. Allen or Espino has to be in Columbus. There's no way they can have all those guys.
Just let me have it, Justin.
If I was an Eastern League hitter, I would just quit. If you have to face Espino, Williams,
did you all see what I put
Allen
up with on a daily basis as we direct message back and forth? He's always argumentative.
Always.
I feel bad for Grace. Grace, I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers for Grace.
She'll never listen to this. It's okay. She'll never listen. Like your wife. She never listens. She listens to like one podcast.
But you'll watch Jeff.
Yeah, I'll tell her to watch Jeff. She'll probably do that. All right, we got two more. Our friend Andrew Kinsman. Which of these three hot start AAA hitters will ultimately have the best big league career? I almost said Alex Gonzalez. Wow, it's a throwback. Oscar Gonzalez, Jose Fermin, Alex Call. Everyone loves Oscar Gonzalez, but I'm going to say Jose Fermin has the best big league career out of those three.
Yes.
The longest.
I agree. Fermin, Gonzalez, Alex Call. If Alex Call has a big league career, I think there's a potential platoon bat there. So I'm not trying to disrespect Alex Call and the Call family. I've made my thoughts on Gonzalez known. I think he's a light version of Domingo Santana. Good arm, He's actually stolen a base or two too. He surprisingly can pick off a base, but he's not fast. Jose Fermin, I think I wanted him rostered over Ernie Clement, if that tells people how I feel about Jose Fermin. So I think future major league utility man, I think you get a better version of Ernie Clement with Jose Fermin, but that's my opinion. We'll see where that goes.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's what's going to make him a longer big leaguer too, is that role and that versatility. Oscar has the power, but he has a 2% walk rate this year. Maybe he's one of those guys that can make it work long term, but I'm still skeptical. And if I'm wrong, that's great. Good for him if I'm wrong, but
he better hit 330 though. I mean, seriously, if he's hitting 330, he's hitting 300. That works. But he's not going to be on base.
His on base right now is 310. That's I don't know what that translates to the major league level, but 310 is not good. In the major league level, it's not good in AAA. And finally, Zach, Spino MVP. How much longer does Noel have to mash to be considered a top 5 prospect? When do we think he'll be in Akron since it's on the 40? I think that my issue with putting him in the top 5 is he's a right-handed hitting first baseman. I've seen him play third enough this year. I think, he could always improve, because I will say, when I saw Nolan Jones in Lake County playing third base, it wasn't good, and he's improved enough to be average there whenever he does come back. So maybe Noel could improve, but based off my looks of Noel so far, I don't see him playing third base long-term. That makes him a right-handed hitting, right-handed throwing first baseman, which Willie is a hard profile to carry. So he's really got to hit, and he has hit, but long term there's a lot of skepticism about that, and I'm still have some concerns about the approach. He's been better this year, so maybe he's answering some of those questions, but it's a boom or bust profile, so that's why I have a hard time putting him in the top 5. He should be in Akron, I think, sometime this year. I mean, Marcos Gonzalez and Mike Capriz are playing first base in Akron. Those are not guys that you should be prioritizing over Noel if Noel is ready for AA. That's only if he's ready. And you can still find at bats for those guys, because Marcos Gonzalez can play third, he can play second, and Mike Capriz can play the outfield. So, I just think it's a matter when he's ready.
And adding another draft pick, you're getting a guy, and Zach and I talked about this last week, you're getting a guy in the draft this year in July who could be the most talented player to enter the organization since Francisco Lindor from the draft. Talking ceiling wise, talent wise, Cleveland hasn't picked this high in a long time. I think they'll pick downboard. But what I'm really trying to bring out is you're adding another guy who should slot somewhere in the top 5, possibly. Last year at pick 16, where Cleveland picks, Khalil Watson went at that very same pick. So Cleveland could stumble upon a great player, a guy that is a top 50, top 100 player. I don't expect that to happen. Don't want to set that expectation. But this is potentially a player that will slot into the top 5 in July whenever they are drafted. So with that being said, Noel will fit somewhere, in my book, probably in the 6 to 10 range by then. Part of that is because of positional value. Hard to carry that right, like Justin mentioned. I'm not going to dig too much into that. But also, there's a lot of talent in the org too. Guys like Gabriel Rodriguez going to make a climb. Angel Martinez going to make a climb. Gavin Williams is going to make a climb. What do you do with Nolan Jones, Tyler Freeman when they're healthy? Marocchio, Valera, Daniel Espino. I mean, there's a lot of talent here. Logan T. Allen deserves to be there. Okay, Cody Morris is probably going to slide out, so there's a slot. But you have other guys that are performing too that are going to make their presence known. Maybe Doug Nikhazy starts to harness that a little bit. And I don't know if that, wildness this weekend is a thing we're going to see on a regular basis or what. Tommy Mace is a talented right-handed pitcher that could slot high in the rankings again next year. A lot of guys that could climb. Bo Naylor is a guy who should fortify his position in the rankings, Petey Halpin should be right up there. Number 1, Jared, that one's for you.
A lot of talent. All right. Thanks, everybody, for the questions. If you've got this far, appreciate you listening. We're going to get to Player of the Week, and then we're going to get out of here because we're already at hour 10. Shocking. Player of the Week voting results. Willie, 79% voted for your picks last week. You took Gavin Williams and Gabriel Rodriguez. I feel like Will Brennan had a better week than Gabriel Rodriguez, but obviously Gavin Williams outpaced Doug Nikhazy because of the 6 walks. So you are on the board with number 1 this year in Player of the Week, and I am still a goose egg. So congratulations to you, even if the voting was rigged. No, it was not a good week for Doug Nikhazy. And
you made Jared mad, and he used all of his 80 burner accounts on my behalf. So
that's right. We know Jared's got a bunch of burners out there for all PD Halpin burners, but it's okay. I'm going to go with Joey Cantillo this week and Brian Lavastida. I think Lavastida is going to play well in his return to AAA now that he's got some big league experience. And I'm really hoping for a Joey Cantillo bounce back because he had 5 walks last week in that game, and I need to see a better week from him. So I'm going to bank on a better week for him. Who are you going with this week, Willie?
Jose for me. And I'm going to go with, I'm not going to take one of the 2 big arms. I'm going with Logan T. Allen this week.
Logan T. Allen was like my standby last year. If I couldn't decide who to take, I just went with Logan T. Allen. And more weeks than not, it got me a lot of wins because he is Mr. Reliable. All right, we'll see what happens next week. If you got this far, like I said, thank you so much because we're an hour and almost 15 minutes in. Thanks for all the questions. Again, if you got this far and you're not following us, you're not subscribed, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you should be doing that already if you got this far. Willie, thanks for joining me again. Thanks for spending the time doing this. And everybody, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.